The eviction moratorium is issued by CDC, but immediately big problems erupt. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoon's LALATE with big details about that rent eviction moratorium as big problems erupt immediately, as predicted by this channel. This is Afternoon's LALATE, the 2-hour programming block that starts every day with a check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and then rent. If you like this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Let's get to the incredible details. The rent eviction moratorium created by CDC, yes, CDC, that's CDC, was announced just 2 days ago. And immediately today, more problems erupted across the board. LALATE had been predicting this for weeks. Guess who told you about this? The Purple Power. I tell you things before they happen, and this one's happening now. A series of analysts were interviewed today about why the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's 4-month eviction moratorium issued on Tuesday may have big problems, and how there may not be guidance how to deal with those problems. Boy, if you're facing an eviction moratorium, if you're facing eviction, you're facing a mortgage forbearance, or you're facing a mortgage foreclosure, you need to watch this video to the very end. Let's get right to the detail. First, the eligibility issues still remain. Of course, the rent moratorium covers people who made less than $99,000 in 2019 and couples that made less than $198,000 in 2019. Now, what's very interesting is you see me pause there. I said 2019. This article says it's 2020. Is already a lack of clarity as to where the economic analysis is done. Is it done on 2019 numbers? Is it done on 2020 numbers? And to what extent will you have to prove up those economic numbers yourself? But many of the details are being ironed out, says Priscilla Amador, CEO of Enterprise Community Partners. First, tenants will have to prepare a declaration for their landlords at the bottom of the CDC form that explains why they qualify for the eviction moratorium. Okay, here you go. So first thing you have to make sure is you're eligible. Second, you have to do a declaration. You have to fill out a declaration. A lot of people just don't know this. They think, oh, I'm protected. I don't have to do anything. You got to do a declaration. Tenants must then demonstrate that they have an inability to pay rent due to COVID-19, but have used best efforts to apply for other aid. Okay, so if you do nothing, you don't qualify? Yeah, the phrasing of the CDC suggests that if you do nothing and just simply say, I can't make rent, I'm struggling, I was laid off, sorry I can't make rent, they may say that's not enough. Have you looked for grant programs? The article even goes into showing that Arizona and Virginia, for example, have grant programs. Did you apply to those grant programs and got denied? No. Well, then you may not qualify for the eviction moratorium. Wait a second, so you can't get eviction moratorium unless you start asking for grant money somewhere else and get denied for that, and then, well, how long does it take to get a denial from those people to, what? Yeah, you see what's starting already? I mean, we're only in 48 hours for this. Landlords who do not agree upon the declaration can try to bring an eviction proceeding claiming the tenant is not a covered person. I mean, we saw that. I said that. I saw that. I said that before the CDC order was issued. I said the landlords are going to say you don't qualify, you're ineligible. And as soon as the CDC order was issued, I said the landlords are immediately going to say you did make more than $98,000 last year or this year. You did make more than $198,000 this year or last year. And they're going to try to say you're not eligible. It would then fall into a housing court, and that could take weeks or months. The good news is you won't be evicted while a case is pending. What the CDC is trying to do is historic. We've never seen the federal government do something as broad as this nationwide eviction order, says Amador. That said, it's really just a pause. It's a meaningful interim step, but it's a short-term fix. I mean, that's a good statement. I mean, the sentence, the quote initially sounds like it's something bad, that the eviction moratorium is bad. I mean, no, it's something incredibly good. It's something that Americans need. And it's really a short-term fix. The question then is whether or not this term is correct or not. Remember, the eviction moratorium is done on a federal level, but states may do something more stringent, more strict. For example, Delaware has an eviction moratorium until the pandemic ends, which may not be till, March next year, February or April next year. So the federal one, this one might expire in December 31st, but if you're in Delaware, they have something more stringent. Come January, back rent will be due, and this is what's the big issue, is that, and viewers understood this right away because I saw your comments, is that, okay, I got protection in December, what happens in January? I don't have any grant aid for rent. I'm just going to be evicted in January in the middle of winter, in the middle of snow, in the middle of sleet. I'm going to be thrown on the street. No rent. I'm not going to come up with 4 months rent that I don't have now and won't have then. And then I'll be evicted. And then what do? I won't have an eviction protection when I go to the next place. A draft of the order. Okay, so this article claims as a draft of the CDC order says the landlords can charge fees, penalties, or interest as a result of the failure to pay rent and or other housing payments on a timely basis under the terms of the applicable contractor. Landlords can still begin eviction proceedings under some circumstances, including worried about their own health. You see what's starting. It starts so good. And then you start to look at it, it's like, looking at the tips of someone's hair in a San Francisco salon. And then you're looking at the roots, like, oh my goodness, Lord. It's like a bad Chuck Schumer Broadway bill in Congress. It's like, oh, you want to say Broadway, but you only want to say the good song, bad songs. You want to say the good songs. It's like, I didn't like that musical. I used to try to say that musical, Chuck. The landlords may evict you if it's to their health situation that they need you out. What does that mean? Still, there are more expansive protections in place. The new policy is badly needed. Amen. We know that. Thank you, Captain Obvious. It's just a half step in the right direction, says Danielle Yento, president of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. This action delays but does not prevent evictions. I don't agree with her. To truly prevent a housing crisis, she says Congress must pass a relief bill with rental assistance. Well, that's just... she's playing games with words. Eviction moratorium means you can't evict. That doesn't mean you're forgiven for rent assistance. Now, I understand that ultimately you have to come up with the rent and you can be evicted later on. But to say this order does not prevent evictions, that's just a very incorrect and uneducated statement by Miss Yentl. More than half of the rental apartments are owned by mom and pop businesses. This is their livelihood. Think of the apartments they own as a small businesses. They're not getting paid rent, which is what they need to pay their rent and bills. They risk being foreclosed upon, says Almondivar. Well, no, there's a mortgage forbearance. Who are these people in this interview from? It's over. I wish I had never pulled that interview. It was from CNBC. I was like, okay, can we get some better people to interview? What was that crap? Okay, so I apologize. Really crappy people with crappy comments. The good news is you have an eviction moratorium. The good news is you have a mortgage forbearance. The good news is a protection to December 31st. The good news, you can't be thrown on the street. The bad news is we have bad interviewers doing bad interviews. Lord, it's just, needless to say, there are other things that are concerned to some viewers. That how do you make your bills? How do you pay your utilities? How do you pay your electric? How do you pay your gas? How do you pay your water? How do you pay your telephone? There is no relief for that. And that is, I just don't understand why that was not done on a federal level as well. When the COVID-19 first hit in California, one of the few things that Gavin Newsom got really correct right away was he immediately issued a moratorium against utility bills to May 31st. And trust me, I heard from enough people that some utility companies simply just did not follow it until you actually threaten them. And basically it said that if you have a telephone bill due and you can't make the bill, they can't turn off the telephone service in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, it sounds so obvious, but he had to pass the rule, and it was a wonderful, wonderful rule. Needless to say, the rule has not been extended. But on a federal level, I don't understand why it's not being offered on a federal level. Namely, that if you have utility services now, that they won't be turned off during the pandemic, and you won't be charged penalties or late fees or things like that. I mean, people need electric and gas and heat and water. And so it's nice to say, hey, we're in August and it's warm outside and the sky is clear. But boy, I can't even say this because I start to see the visual of it. Come October or November, as snow and sleet and rain and cold weather sets in, and we hear people not being evicted from their homes, well, is their electric and gas going to be turned off because there's no protection for that? Is their heating and plumbing going to be turned off? There's no protection for that. So people will be in their homes in a dark box. You see what's going on is that a lot of, as one viewer aptly said in his comment yesterday, there's not a lot of forward thinking by Congress and the president here. People just seem to think about what's happening today. And yeah, I understand the purple power, I understand our power, and I understand that we're based upon reason and we're based upon understanding reality. But you have to understand why do so many other politicians not have purple power? Why don't they see that there's a real bad predicament coming on the horizon in November if people don't have utilities? They have an eviction moratorium, but they have no utilities. So they can't take a hot shower. They can't have hot gas. They can't cook food. They live in darkness in an apartment. And how about the owners of the apartments? If they can't make their own utility bills, if they can't make their own property tax bills, as property tax bills are due late in the year, around November, October, what's going to happen with them? One of the things that was deeply critical and was often completely forgotten, and predates this channel, was when Gavin Newsom announced that order back in March, to create a protection against utilities being turned off. He did nothing about property taxes. So a lot of businesses, property owners, homes, apartment buildings that weren't getting income suddenly had their property taxes due. Was there a relief for that? No. Was there an attempt to give relief for it? Hardly. Did state and local do anything to say, hey, your bills are not due? No. And this is why people are really angry with the Temple of Doom. They see this claim that we have to help state and local. And at 12 minutes into this video, this is where the host starts to rant. Get ready. We're supposed to help state and local for a second stimulus package. Where does state and local help us when the COVID-19 first hit? They didn't give us a reprieve, a forgiveness on paying property taxes. They didn't give us a relief for paying water and sewage or waste and sanitation. They didn't give us a reprieve for paying certain things that we couldn't make bills on. And so when we can't pay their bills for state and local, and we need grants to pay their bills, what do? They say, go pay them, but we want money from the federal government. Tough luck for you. It's like kicking someone when they're down and then taking the wallet out of their pocket. It's really horrible that the same people that want state and local money for state and local and want them to have free money don't want state and local to give you anything when you can't make state and local bills. That's why people don't have a lot of faith in giving money to state and local on a second stimulus package. Because ultimately, what is it going to? It's not going to keep people employed, because they historically, under the first stimulus package, took the money and fired people. So we know they're going to take the money and not use it to keep people on staff. It's just not true. They say it, but it's simply not true. Two, it's not going to pass the money on to you. States have just not done that. It's been a horse and pony show to say, hey, we're giving grants, hey, we're giving rent assistance. They've given you pennies on the dollar, keeping the money in the bank for months on end, getting interest on the money, and then rolling it out in August for, $40,000 out of, $200 trillion they were allocated for that issue. They just do a horse and pony show for it. So why should state and local have any money? Hard to say. Coming up next is Evenings LALATE. Do me a few favors. Like and subscribe to this channel because, boy, there's a lot of stuff going on. Hit that subscribe and hit that alert button so you can alert when a new video goes live or when a new alert of a breaking news story like an eviction moratorium is announced. And then like this video because liking the video helps it appearing higher in the ranking. Coming up next is Evenings LALATE with a special blockbuster. First, the check at 6:45, and then our special when we answer your questions from last night's video about FPUC, PUA, UI, and all those wonderful enhanced and normal unemployment benefits. As always, stay informed, stay focused, stay smiling, and stay of LA for more.